Agha is what I used to call him. It's an Iranian name for grandfather. My grandfather was my hero, and Agha means dear man. My grandfather lived to 104 years old. He was born in 1900 and passed away in 2004. He really was a wonderful, wonderful human being and treated me like the apple of his eye. He was extremely wealthy in life, and he died poor. And this really perplexed me in life, and I couldn't understand what had happened for him that he was so successful and then somehow kind of lost it. And one story that he told me that has always stayed with me was about bread. He told me that from when he could remember, from about 1910, when he was 10 years old, he remembered that bread didn't change price for 35 years. He remembered that bread was the same price till 1945. And that stuck with me. I thought to myself, how is it possible that something didn't increase in price for 35 years? And I started thinking about that, and I realized that obviously time went slower. And that's what really used to happen back then. And time is starting to speed up now. And what we're seeing in today's world is the future coming at us at a super fast pace. Really at a pace that we don't quite understand. So I want to ask you a question. Who here owns their own business? So about 30-40% of the audience, and I imagine the other 50 or 60% of the audience works for a business, right? So I want to ask you another question. Who thinks business is getting easier? Wow, I want to come talk to you afterwards, because I want to know what your trick is. So the truth is that business is getting harder to some extent because things are changing at such a pace. So what I want to do tonight is I want to talk about why business is getting harder, and then leave you with a methodology and a process so that you can hopefully go home and apply to your businesses that can make your life a lot easier and keep you forever profitable, is what I call it. So I did some research, and I realized that there's a lot of thinking behind what is going on in the world right now that's making it so tough. And I came across a gentleman by the name of Jeremy Rifkin. And Jeremy Rifkin is a global economist that sits on the UN and works with huge businesses around the world. And he's come up with a wonderful theory called zero margin business. And he talks about the collapse of capitalism. And this is what he says. He says that every economy is driven with three pillars. What you have in every economy is the pillar of energy, of communication, and of transport. These are the pillars that drive business forward and have always done so. So if we take ourselves back 200 years and go to the beginning of the 19th century, what we had was the birth of steam-powered engines. And steam was becoming the new energy form that things were moving with. What we then saw was steam-powered communication with the printers coming out of Germany, allowing us to communicate at a faster pace. And the transportation was the locomotive, or the train. So you can see now that economies started really speeding up because these three pillars started getting us to move faster. Let's fast track to the 20th century, where we start seeing energy become oil. And we start seeing communication become electricity, fueling radio, television, and the telephone. And we start seeing that the transportation is anything that's fueled by oil, the combustion engine, cars, trains, planes. And this was now really the capitalism starting to find its own fuel and really grow exponentially. And we were at the peak of capitalism in 2006, 2007. But if we fast track just to 10 years ago, we start seeing a brand new economy being born, and these three pillars are changing again. Energy is becoming renewable energy. And after your first investment, it's pretty much free. Communication is becoming the internet, pretty much free. Transportation is becoming drones and driverless cars, which changes the game of how we transport things. We're not really involved in the transportation anymore. And this is what is happening around us, where we're starting to see the collapse of capitalism. And capitalism has really collapsed because, or it has collapsed on the internet so far. We've seen businesses on the internet really feeling the brunt of it, where we have music newspapers and books really being disrupted. But the minute the Internet of Things and 3D printers start arriving onto our street corners, we're going to start seeing our real life also be disrupted. And with the death of capitalism, what we see is the rise of the sharing economy. And you've all heard of the sharing economy. Brands like Airbnb, Uber, and Alibaba are the real big businesses that are growing and having ridiculous amounts of profits. And all of them trade on the sharing economy. None of them trade on the capitalist market. These businesses are set up in a totally different way. And for us as business owners, to try and understand this is really hard. It's really tough because what we've always known and what we've mastered is what we want to keep doing. And we really are fearful of any way that's going to change what we've mastered already as business owners. So we're even starting to see that having a differentiator in a business is not enough anymore. Having a differentiator like you used to have in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and all you did was protect this differentiator in your business, is really suicide in this day and age. If you're spending that much time and energy protecting a differentiator, who's watching what's coming at you? Who's able to predict what's going to happen inside your business in the future? You see Elon Musk has just opened up all his patents. He's open to everybody to start using them because the pace of innovation is becoming so necessary that differentiators don't count anymore. If you really want a differentiator, there's 3 very simple things you need to do. You need to personalize the service that you're giving your clients. You need to make sure it's more convenient. You need to make sure that it's totally trustworthy. Those 3 things are massive differentiators. Just like Stephen said, the electrician. Just be a good electrician with good service. Those 3 things make you really stand out. And we're seeing that the fastest growing position on a board in overseas companies is the chief future officer. We're starting to see that board members are not well equipped in order to understand what is coming at them. They're very good at understanding what's happened and how we can extrapolate it moving forward, but they don't quite know and understand how to understand what's coming at them. So the chief future officer is really what's being born. So that is why business is becoming tougher, except for you two. Everybody else, that's why. Capitalism is collapsing. We're starting to see it all around us. People are panicking. Business like used to happen is not happening anymore. And what we need to start understanding is how do we apply ourselves in a brand new world? How do we apply ourselves and stay forever profitable? So who would like to know how to stay forever profitable? Not you. No, put your hand down, dude. You already know. I'm going to come ask you later. So, for the last 10 years, I've been working in a business called Inspiring Genius, and what we've done is we've developed a methodology called Forever Profitable. It's been applied across sectors to small businesses, medium businesses, and large businesses, both in South Africa and internationally. And I want to take you through it quickly for you to just get an understanding of, if you can't afford a chief future officer, maybe to tool you up with a clear step-by-step process to try and get you to be forever profitable. So, let's start. First thing you need to do is you need to understand trends. And we all talk about trends, we see trends, some of the speakers have spoken about trends, but trends on their own are just great entertainment. That's all they are. You can go listen to a trend talk, you can get onto the umpteen trend websites, and it's just great entertainment. I'll give you one of my favorite trends right now. It's called emotionology. Anybody heard about it? It's a wonderful trend. It is the mix of technology and emotions. It's the ability for technology to affect your emotions. So they've brought out a brand called Think, T-H-Y-N-C. You can order it right now online. It's a little box. It's got 2 wires that come out of it. It's got a pad that sticks to the front of your forehead. And with one button up, it energizes you. And with one button down, it calms you down. How's that for entertainment? That means the pharmaceuticals, Prozacs, are starting to go away. A glass of wine after work is not necessary. All you need is emotionology. Now, it's great to hear emotionology, but when you get back to your desk, what do you do with it? What's it going to do, and how's it going to help your business? So the first thing you need to do is you need to start dissecting trends in order to categorize them and make sense of them. So what you do is you understand that there are 3 major markets in the world. The first market is called the mature awareness market. And the mature awareness market are cities like Sydney, San Francisco, pockets of Cape Town, Switzerland, and the cities inside Switzerland. And these mega trends that affect these mature awareness markets is something called guilt-free consumption. These are the people that made it cool to ride a bicycle to work. These are the people that made it cool to grow lettuce in your back garden and put it on Instagram. These are the people that follow a fashion trend called normcore fashion. These are the people that want to make sure that everything they do is guilt-free and has a light footprint on the earth. This affects every single way they interact with the world, everything. You then get emerging cities around the world. And these are cities like Johannesburg, Kuala Lumpur, Beijing, Dubai. And these cities are underpinned by a mega trend called fast consumption. It's all about how much faster can I go, how much cooler can I look. And if you go to a city like Dubai, you'll see there's shopping centers on every corner. There are big bodybuilders on every other corner. And there's plastic surgery clinics on every other corner. And we're starting to see that these emerging cities are very much underpinned by fast consumption. So you've got to understand that the trends affecting the emerging cities and the mature cities are vastly different. So you've got to become clear about categorizing them. And the last market that I look at is a market called the less affluent market. And these are the poorer people in the world, and they're driven by two mega trends called reverse innovation and connectivity. All this market wants to do is drive a BMW or Mercedes-Benz, according to that stat. All this market wants to do is use reverse innovation in order to start living in an emerging market. So you see Tata in India brought out a $1,000 car so that the poorer people could afford to drive a car and feel like they're in the emerging market. So the first thing you need to do is you need to categorize and understand who your business is servicing. Are you servicing a market in the mature market, emerging market, or less affluent market? Then look at the trends affecting each one of those sectors. Don't get mixed up, because if you do, your market's not going to enjoy what you're saying to them. So once you've subdivided them into these three sectors, you now get busy into understanding what is going on in the future of your industry on a global level. You need to get in and you need to start studying it, and you need to start becoming objective about it and start looking at it, because there's a lot going on in the food world. Do you know what the biggest trend in the food world is right now? Is convenient food delivery to your home. There's a brand in the States called Blue Apron. They've just grown by 500% in the last year. And what they do is they deliver food to your door, 4 meals. They deliver it on a Monday with all the raw ingredients, with a recipe book next to it. And all you do is you cook a meal every night. No more going to the grocery store. No more going to takeaways. No more going to the restaurants. It's changing the way food needs to operate. So understanding the future of your industry, if you're in a grocery store and a restaurant, it's really to understand that convenience is starting to play a much bigger trend than it used to. The second category you need to be looking at in the trends is the future of your consumer. You see, the consumer in the emerging market enjoys a trend called FOMO. You all know FOMO, the fear of missing out. The consumer in the mature market enjoys a trend called JOMO, the joy of missing out. Very, very different trend. And if you're not dissecting it correctly, you can start giving your consumer the wrong message. The third thing you need to look at, and one I think is of utmost importance, and the reason it's of utmost importance is that there's a stat floating around that says by 2020, 70% of the workforce in the first world will be freelancers, meaning that only 30% of the workforce wants to work for anybody else. So if you're not able to create an environment that brings the best talent to your business, you're not going to have a business. I was called a year ago by one of the world's top business management consulting firms, and they asked me to help them because nobody wanted to come work for them anymore. I was perplexed by their problem. These people are they're most probably the world's #1 management consulting firm. And what they weren't able to do was develop a value system and a business that would attract these new, young, talented people. What they wanted to do was get these new, young, talented people to work 20 hours a day, 6 days a week. And guess what? The future staff members don't want to do that anymore. It's over. So now, unless you're going to be changing your value system and your business in order to attract these people, don't expect them to come work for you. And lastly, a very, very important one, your future possible competitors. If you don't know who's coming to disrupt your business, they're going to disrupt you and take you out of business. FNB is doing a wonderful thing right now. They are launching their own cell phone network. Do you know why? Because the future competitor to banks are not banks. They're cell phone businesses. And understanding that will allow you to jump ahead of your competitors. So now that you've understood the trends, you're now able to change your business. Because now what you've done is you've really educated yourself. And it's really important for you to educate yourself on an ongoing basis, because guess what? Trends are changing all the time. So you really have to start becoming a bit of a chief future officer yourself. And now that you've understood the trends, you need to start innovating. Does anybody know what innovation means? Everybody uses it, but nobody actually knows what it actually means. It's made up of two words. You want to tell me? To improve something that's already existing is a wonderful, you're absolutely right. But these are the two words that actually make it up. Invention and imitation. It's taking an invention and imitating it. But you cannot take an invention and imitate it if you have not understood the trends. And when you do those two things together, what you do is you start to trenovate. Trenovate is what underpins the process that I follow when working with businesses. And I believe very much that in order to innovate with purpose and to understand who you're innovating for and why you're innovating, you need to have understood the trends. And they cannot live apart from each other. So you need to go and trenovate in your businesses on a continuous basis. And now that you've trenovated, you still don't have the courage to change your business. Because guess what? It takes a lot of bravery to change your business. I often get called into businesses and they ask me, John, come make us radically innovative. I'm like, great, let's get you radically innovative. And within 3 weeks, they're like, whoa, not that innovative. Because it takes a lot of courage and a lot of bravery to be innovative, to really want to jump categories. So you see, Nike was making clothes and they became a digital business. Why? Because they understood that everybody that was wearing clothes wanted to measure how far they were running. So understanding that you need to jump categories if you own a restaurant, are you brave enough to start becoming a food delivery business? It needs a lot of bravery. And so what I want to do is make people very comfortable in that process, and I run something called imagination innovation. And it's important to imagine it. Have fun with it. And do it with your staff member in mind, firstly. Understand what sort of business you want to build with the right staff there. Not your consumer, your staff. There won't be any consumers if you don't have the right staff. So the first thing you want to do is run an imagination workshop with you and your office, and even bring somebody else in to want to help you run it with you, and run it around your staff journey. And then focus on your consumer journey. And you want to be able to touch on every touch point of your consumer journey. Make sure that your consumer is comfortable when they're dealing with you, they trust your brand, all the way through from how they see you online to the way you invoice them. Once you've trenovated your business, the only way you can change your business is by changing the culture of your business. You cannot become an innovative business unless you have a good culture. And what you want to do is you want to redesign your story. You want to ritualize your story, because rituals are the only things that change behavior. You need to make sure that your office or retail space starts looking different and it's more in line with your story. You need to start tooling up your businesses and your staff members so that they are more about what's coming at the business rather than what was at the business. Once you've done that, now, and only now, are you ready to innovate. You see, you've had to understand the trends. You've had to imagine your business. You've had to change the people inside your business, and now you're able to do rapid innovation. You need to rethink your business. You need to rethink and understand, now that you've been watching the trends, what does my business have to be moving forward? How do I need to change my business moving forward? What are the new ways that I can get in touch with my customers? How are they looking for me online? And then I'm able to bring that awareness into the workshops. I'm able to prototype it, and I'm able to iterate it on a continuous basis. Now, and only now, have you really innovated your business. One step left. In order to change behavior of yourself and of your staff members, you need to start gamifying the new behavioral change. Gamification is the #1 behavioral change tool right now, and we are all playing along. If you're with Momentum, I promise you that you're flying Mango only. If you're with Discovery, you're only flying Kalula. Why? It's been gamified. Do that, get these points, go eat here, get this discount. It's all gamified. We have all started changing our behaviors around this. And it's no different with the staff that you have working for you. You have to start gamifying them, changing their behavior towards your new culture that you've designed for them. You need to reward them differently. You need to give them new rewards for new rewards, not just profit, not just bottom line. This is the only thing that can change your behavior of your business. And remember, 70% of the workforce are going to be freelancers soon. If you aren't able to have fun with your staff, they're not going to be wanting to work for you. Gone are the days that staff are going to put up with shit. The truth is, they have access to the internet, and they become hyper-informed and hypersensitive. They see Richard Branson put something up and says, your leader should be doing these 5 things. And the staff member looks at it and goes, geez, my boss does none of these. He's actually quite a dick. Having this access to information is dangerous for leaders, because leaders really have to step up. And just like Stephen said, you've got to start becoming that change inside the business. So, just to wrap up, In order for you to be forever profitable, and we all want to be forever profitable, I wish my granddad was here that I could show him this forever profitable methodology, is understand the trends, do imagination, don't